What is up, you guys? This is MiniSuperHeroesToday. And in today's video, I'll be showing you how to build all of the main characters from The Amazing Spider-Man 2 using 100% official LEGO parts and pieces. If you're new here to the channel, be sure to hit like and subscribe because I'm doing this for every Spider-Man movie. I've done every one that's out so far, and next week I'll get to do No Way Home. Man, I can't wait. Anyways, I think Amazing Spider-Man 2 gets a lot more hate than it deserves. It's actually a really good movie. Well, maybe not the best of the Spider-Man movies, but again, I just think it's better than it gets credit for. The costumes, especially Spider-Man's costume, were pretty awesome, and Gwen Stacy, man, I just don't know if I'll ever get over that one. Anyways, this video will show you how to build all of those characters using LEGO pieces you may have in your collection, so be sure to take notes, and let's get into the tutorials. So, at the beginning of the film, we see flashbacks of Peter and Mary Parker, as well as young Peter. So, these are the customs I made from last week's video from The Amazing Spider-Man 1. To get to the new stuff, I'm going to go ahead and skip over these tutorials. Go check out that video if you want to see these, but let's get into the meat and potatoes of Amazing 2.
What you got for me today, New York?
Right at the beginning of the movie, we see Spider-Man swinging through the city. Man, this movie had amazing Spider-Man swinging scenes. Really, really awesome. Now, with that being said, there is a minifigure that exists of The Amazing Spider-Man 2. It was a 2013 San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, so it's super rare now, and in fact, on Bricklink, there's one listed for $10,000 for sale right now. That's crazy. I don't expect very many people, if anybody, watching this video to actually have that figure, so here's how to build a custom one. The torso, arms, and legs all come from the 2016 Civil War version of Spider-Man. The reason I'm using this torso instead of the other Spider-Man one is because A, the other one is more symbolic with Tom Holland, and B, this uses the concept art Spider, which I think looks just a little bit more like Andrew Garfield's Spider. Is it perfect? No, but it's just a little bit closer, so that's what I recommend for this custom.
This is not it!
Now it's time to build Alexi, aka the guy that will become Rhino later in the film, and I unfortunately did not get to use my first pick torso. My first pick torso would have been General Zod from the LEGO Batman movie collectible minifigure series, but I can't find it. I know I have one or two of them somewhere. I looked everywhere though and can't find it, so sometimes that happens. So I went ahead and used the next best option in my opinion, which is Rockstar Batman from the LEGO Batman collectible minifigure series. For the arms, I used Percival Graves from the LEGO Harry Potter collectible minifigure series, with black legs, and the head comes from Dwali from the LEGO Lord of the Rings Hobbit sets. So pretty good, and I like the way it turned out, especially with those nice head tattoos.
She remembered my name.
Up next, we have Max Dillon, who will later become Electro, and this, of course, is before he becomes Electro. Now, this figure only uses one really hard piece to get, and that is the head from Sam Jackson's character from Jurassic Park from the Big Gate set. Kind of a bummer, but anyways, the torso comes from Bruce Banner from Infinity War or Ragnarok, with some gray sleeves, some black hands to match, the skin tone. Then I gave him some slicked back black hair and some light blue legs to round it out.
Of Spider-Man.
Here we've got 6 Spider-Man from when he goes in the convenience store and has to suit up quickly to save the day and get his cold medicine. I loved that. You know, it was so cool to see Spider-Man being an average everyday person. I just thought that was great. Anyways, to build this, I used the same arms and legs from the Spider-Man from earlier in the video. I neglected to mention that the face is from the 2012 era Spider-Man. They used that face for years, but that's the same head that I used on here. I can't believe I forgot to say that earlier. Anyways, what I added is Marty McFly's torso so that you could get that nice big bubble vest chest piece on there. Works well. I gave him a blue backpack. Well, it's actually a life preserver, but from the front it looks like a backpack, and since you can see the blue up front, it kind of looks like the scarf he's wearing, which is pretty cool. Speaking of things added on, he's got a blue beanie on there, which came from the LEGO City Arctic sets from around 2018 or so. Almost every single one of those sets came with this, so that's cool. It came in the bookshop as well. It's a pretty common piece. I think there's a Ninjago set with it, so yeah.
And I'm Spider-Man.
Here we have Alistar Smith, who is played by BJ Novak, aka Ryan from The Office, And the face isn't my favorite, but there just are not a lot of Lego faces with glasses in the flesh tone. It's really crazy. You know, Dumbledore has them, but that wouldn't work. Harry Potter has them, that wouldn't work either. So I kind of went with this face here from 2016 Ghostbusters Kevin, with some swept back black hair and the torso and legs from Agent Coulson from Lego Marvel. Aunt May doesn't wear anything too exciting in these films, so it's pretty bland. The torso comes from Snake from the Lego Simpsons collectible minifigure series, with some dark blue arms to add there. Actually, he came in the Quickie Mart, not the CMF, but anyways, we got some dark gray legs, the face from Chief O'Hara from Lego Batman movie, and some black hair to bring it all together.
That's a question.
Here we've got Peter Parker and Harry Osborn. I thought these two had great chemistry on camera together, and you can see the image I went for here to kind of get that general vibe from these two, and I think they both turned out pretty good. Anyways, let's start with Harry Osborn. The hair comes from Flashback Garmadon. The face comes from Agent Coulson, who you should have already for this showcase since we just used him earlier. Then, yeah, it all comes together for the head there. You know, Harry had the glasses on. I thought that was cool. And Harry's hair is a little strange in this with how it's like kind of long in the front but short everywhere else. So I tried to get that general vibe as much as possible. The torso comes from Simon Masrani, or Masrani, I don't know how the pronunciation is, but that is from Jurassic World, with some tan hands on there to match and some dark gray legs. For Peter Parker, the head and hair I used are from 2015's Age of Ultron Hawkeye. I just think that that looks a lot like Andrew Garfield, even if he's not as smiley as I wished he was. I've got a brown backpack on there with the torso from one of the cops from the Lego Batman movie minifigure accessory pack, but I did put on some regular dark blue arms on there because that one did have some printing on the arms that was like Gotham City Police. That wouldn't work here. Speaking of the Lego Batman movie, the legs come from Robin from the Lego Batman movie collectible minifigure series.
I don't expect forgiveness.
Up next, we've got Norman Osborn in the middle of his Goblin transformation. Now, I used the Nemoidian head and hands from Lego Star Wars. I just grabbed a random torso, honestly, that kind of looked like pajamas. You could really use anything you have, but this comes from the Lego Fun in the City pack. The hair comes from Mr. Incredible from The Incredibles, and then I built his bed using a custom method. I just thought I'd use a lot of greens because he is becoming the Green Goblin. So I used these 1x2 slope pieces here to represent pillows, then a 1x1 dark green, a 1x1 sand green, then two 2x2 jumpers with a 2x3 plate in the middle to kind of be like a blanket coming up and over him. Then the bottom of the bed is constructed with 3 2x4 gray plates with studs on each corner, and then the entire bed has 1x4 green pieces around it for the mattress. So yeah, I like the way that that turned out, and I hope you guys like it too. I don't usually do like builds like this for these showcases, but I felt like this one was necessary, so let me know what you think.
I just wanted everyone to see me.
Here we have Electro from the Times Square battle, and since we're doing this, I might as well show you this too. We've got Spider-Man with his fire hat from the same scene. I just always thought that was funny when, you know, he blasted him with the water and he's got the hat on. Anyways, we do have to talk about Electro briefly, but we'll talk about him a little bit more later in the showcase. You're probably thinking, Jonathan, what are you talking about? We'll get there. You can see that the blue hands, the lightning bolt, and the face all come from the Electro from the polybag from Amazing Spider-Man. We'll get to that a little bit later, but in the meantime, you'll use a black hood on there. I used this torso from Star Wars. It's from one of the Imperial, I think it's like an engineer character or something, flipped around so it's more like a baggy sweatshirt or like hoodie up front with some black legs. So yeah, let's keep moving on.
What's your name?
Up next, we have the character Felicia, an Oscorp employee, who is played by Felicity Jones. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is, A, that her name was Felicia, and B, had the Amazing Spider-Man series continued, she probably would have become the Black Cat, because that's probably the most famous fictional Felicia I can think of, especially in the comics world. Anyways, to build this figure, which I think turned out really good if I do say so myself, I used the head and hair from 2016's Jin Air Soap, because that's also played by Felicity Jones. With that being said, this hairpiece and that head are used on tons of other figures, so if you don't have those, that's fine. Well, if you don't have Jyn Erso, that's fine. You probably have these two other pieces from elsewhere, like Lego City. They've used this head for Black Widow, for Rachel from Friends, so lots of options. Then moving down, the torso and legs come from Margaret Hamilton from the Lego Women of NASA set.
I'm Electro.
Remember a little bit ago when I told you that Electro had his own polybag? Well, now's the time we get to talk about that. Again, Amazing Spider-Man 2 did have two minifigures made from it. We had that 2013 San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Spider-Man figure, which is very rare, and we had this Electro polybag, which is less rare, but still relatively rare today. Anyways, I have a little theory on this. Now, Mega Bloks actually acquired the rights to making Spider-Man toys from Spider-Man 3 through the first Amazing Spider-Man film. I have a theory that they had an expiring contract, so they couldn't do sets from the Amazing Spider-Man 2, but neither could Lego. Lego, of course, did get the license back for Marvel, at least Avengers and Spider-Man and all that for sure, in 2012, and then that turned into, comic book Avengers and all that stuff over the years. With that being said, there were no Amazing Spider-Man sets, so I have this kind of crazy theory that Lego couldn't make any sets based on Amazing Spider-Man, but they could do polybags and minifigures. Anyways, I'll take off my tinfoil hat and just show you this figure here. He's got great leg printing, hip printing, torso printing, and of course those head and hands came in handy earlier for our other version of Electro. So yeah, this is less of a tutorial for this segment and more of a history lesson, but I hope you guys like that.
Oh, thank you, Gwen Stacy!
So we've been working chronologically, and we're getting toward the end of the movie, which means it's time to build Gwen Stacy. That last scene with her death is so impactful, even all these years later. It's just so well written, so well acted. Anyways, to build this figure, I used the legs from Scarlet Witch from 2015's Age of Ultron, so you get the black skirt with the shoes. I think that works really well. The torso and ironically the head come from Tina Goldstein from Lego Fantastic Beasts. Works out really well. And then the hair is actually from a mini doll. Can you believe that? It's from Supergirl from the Lego DC Superhero Girls line of sets. It works perfect for Gwen. I love this figure. Like I said, all these years later, still love this movie. And as we've built up to the climax here, we do have the Green Goblin. Of course, Harry Osborn from the end of the film. And fittingly, because it's the climax of the movie and the video, this is the most complex figure in the showcase. So if you're taking notes, now's the time to click your pen and start jotting them. The face comes from Fenrir from Lego Harry Potter. Now, of course, in Harry Potter, that's kind of more of like a furry look, but I like the more diseased look it gives to Harry. And, of course, those kind of grayish eyes are very offsetting, even for Lego, and I think it works well for the Green Goblin. The hair here is from the CMF series Elf. I love that it gives you the pointed ears, and the slick back hair works so well for this figure and character. The torso comes from Sylvie from the Lego Marvel Collectible Minifigure series, with Sylvie's arm on this side as well. I think that, there's some green accenting in there, and even the back of the torso works really well for Green Goblin. Moving to the side here, we have Thor's arm from Thor Ragnarok, which works really well for Goblin's arm. I think that worked great. And in the film, he's kind of got like a black apparatus on his hand, but his hand is exposed. I ended up going with the black glove, though, because it ties all the colors together on the Lego minifigure better than just leaving that hand exposed. But you guys can do what you think works best. The hips and this leg come from the powered-up Batman from Batman vs. Superman, and the greenish leg over here, it's dull molded. It looks really good, I think. Comes from the Frightening Knight collectible minifigure series figure. Whew, that was a lot to get through, but this figure does look pretty awesome when it's all said and done. Rhino! At the end of the film, we do see Alexi suited up as Rhino, and I know it's a little bit cheesy, but I still like it. It was really awesome. Anyways, I would recommend using the Rhino from the 2015 Sandman and Rhino Supervillain Team-Up set. I think that that's about as accurate as you're going to get without going crazy and building your own mock. And, I would try to build one. Maybe I will someday, but there are some people that have built great mocks in the past, and credit where credit's due, but It's just not something I have time for in the immediate future, so maybe I'll get around to it again someday.
I knew you'd come back.
And to round things off, let's finish off with the brave kid that suits up as Spider-Man and wants to take on Rhino himself. Since his costume is kind of like homemade or maybe even store-bought, I went ahead and used the torso and legs from the Mighty Micros version of Spider-Man. I just thought that worked well for a kid's costume. The head is from Harry Potter, and I used the pulled-up mask from Spider-Man Far From Home to round the whole thing together. So we've covered a lot of figures in this showcase, so why don't we zoom out and I'll give you my final thoughts. Alright guys, well thanks for hanging out with me today. Let me know what you think of these customs and what you think of this movie. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe because a week from today we'll be doing it all over again for Spider-Man No Way Home. Can you believe it? Less than a week away. I'm so excited, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Well, you've made it to the end of the video. You should hit like and subscribe down below for more LEGO content from me because I post just about every single day. You'll be up to date on all the latest in LEGO, so why not join my community and hit subscribe now.